Okay, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. For the last 20 years, I've been doing shows just like this. I started out at the Panera Bread, you believe it or not, in Clifton, Virginia, just helping entrepreneurs and business leaders start to focus more about what they need to do to bring themselves forward. What do they need to do to create more higher performance, get more focus, develop more energy for themselves so they can push through all of the drama that's happening to them. And when COVID hit, I decided, you know what, let's take the show on the road. Let's go online, let's go virtual and make this available for people all over the world. So entrepreneurs get to dial in, they get to phone in, they get to see this program everywhere. So if you're on with us today and you're going to be a part of the studio audience, I'm going to give you some tips to do, but we have a fantastic show lined up for you. For those of you all who are familiar with the 9-step process that I brought together years ago, it's really all about helping you develop high quality professional relationships and making sure that you leave nothing on the table. What you can do with your talent and how your talent can spread through others to make sure that you are providing value, 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 services to the world, services to your community, services to your family, and finally, services to yourself that will provide the longevity that you need to provide the health and the wealth that you need to provide for yourself. And you can do amazing things. I'm an entrepreneur's entrepreneurs. I love business leaders. I love professionals who are all about understanding what it takes to win. I'm a coach. I like to win. I choose winning people. All of my clients win. We make sure we win. But here's the deal. If you don't have the right mindset, and our guest presenter today, you're going to love her, by the way. We were just talking about that. If you don't have the right mindset, it doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. It doesn't even matter how many relationships you have, right? You are not going to be successful. And that's what today's topic is all about. Today's topic is all about win-win. How do you create win-win relationships with people that you need to create win-win relationships with? Think about that. There are people out there who could support you in the realm of funding. They could share their talent with you. They can share their other physical resources with you, maybe relationships that they have. They could share those with you. They could be a mentor for you. They could be a coach for you. They could be an advisor for you. They could be a consultant for you. And finally, they could even be a therapist for you. All of these things we can do for each other. And some of those things everybody absolutely needs at some point in their lives. Now, what if you had those people already lined up? What if you had those people already ready to go to work, to go to bat, and do the things they needed to do to help you move past any obstacle that you bump into? If you had that when you were 20 years old, where would you be now? How about when you were 30? How about when you were 40? This is win-win. Win-win is an opportunity for you to begin to change your thinking and understand that if you're in doing something with somebody, it doesn't matter what it is. If either one of you lose, both of you lose. And there's no room for the kind of strategy that most of us have been taught. Most of us have been taught as we grow older, even in those that have been gone to business school and professional schools or whatever, whether you're an insurance agent or a life insurance person or a broker of some type or even a lawyer or a CPA. We've all been taught that the way to win is by literally making sure that we beat out somebody else. We beat out the competition. We make ourselves better than someone else. In reality, the game that we're all playing is an individual game. It's not a game that means we have to pit ourselves up against someone else. It's a game that means we have to pit ourselves up against the best self that we can be, against the person that we were yesterday. How are we growing today? And how are we leveraging others to help us get there? And how are we adding? I said this before and I'll say it again. Everybody wants to live their life and do meaningful things, do significant things, and do relevant things. So they can, at the end of their lives, know that there was consequence and there was opportunity because of them. We're all gifted with certain talents, certain abilities, certain skills. But we also have certain things where we have flaws, where we have areas where we're weak. And the smartest people on the planet understand how to take your weaknesses and turn them into strengths by using the talents of others. At the same time, taking your talent and sharing them with others so that others can mitigate their weaknesses and mitigate the risk of being who they are. This is the essence of win win. How can you be better together than you are as an individual? Think about that in your personal relationships, your professional relationships. How are you doing it? Um, and we're going to talk a lot about that on today's topic. Today, we are really getting into it, and this is the sixth step of the 9 step process. If you look at the 9 step process, and I'm going to share that with you right now, as a matter of fact, um, I'm going to go back to our private page here, and I'm going to take a page from that and post it right here in the comments. If you are able to look at the private chat on YouTube or on Facebook, you're going to be able to see um, book that I've been writing and working on, and basically studying deeper and deeper and deeper over the last 20 years. And on page 13, we're talking about really what it takes to develop win-win relationships. Now, it's the easy read. It's only 2 pages associated with it. So I would suggest in your private time, and when you have some time, go ahead and do that work. Go ahead and do the exercises that are there. Go ahead and think about the topics and its ideas. Look at the quotes and really see what you can do to be better at creating win-win strategies. We're going to talk about most of it today, but I can't do the work for you. You have to kind of do the work for yourself. But here's what I will commit to. If you have any questions, if you have any issues or anything that you want to that come up to your mind and you want to ask more questions about, feel free to ask them in the chat. Feel free to post them. I will get to those questions. If I don't get to them in the show, I will get to them after the show. That's the beautiful thing about this being recorded, is we can always go back and read the chat box and see who said what and where. I will make our information, the information of all of our speakers today, available to you so they can get to you, and anything that they want to share with you, they can sure happen. Definitely do that. By the way, I know Claudette's backstage. By the way, Claudette, if you got something that you want to share with the listening audience, do me a favor and post that information into the private chat section, and I will repost it when you're speaking, so that everybody can see that. Very similar to what I'm about to run right now. This is the banner. If you have any questions, if you have anything you want to say, anything you want to share, put it in the chat. You can call me or text me. My number's coming across the stream. If you want to check out any of the social media approaches, you can use that hashtag 9step guru. That's me. I'm the 9-step guru, and we'll be definitely having a great show today. I see we have quite a few people in our listening audience. Do me a favor, if you can, go ahead and post your information in the chat. Tell us where you're coming from. If you have a business, post your business information in the chat. Let us know how we can contact you, and I will definitely give you a shout out on the screen live today. So I don't want you to feel like that this is something that you just sit back and watch. We want engagement. We want you to think. We want you to write. We want you to take notes. We want you to ask questions. We want you to do everything you can to get into this topic with us, because this is a primarily important topic. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. And I want to make sure that as I'm doing that, it's important to make sure that we are playing from the same script and doing all the things I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to run a commercial break right now, and that's what I'm going to do. So if you guys get a chance, pay attention, and I will be back in a second. Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. We just had a quick little commercial break. I love those little video things I put together. One of my buddies put those together for me. If you want one of those for yourself, do me a favor and put it in the chat, and I will make sure that I get you in contact with my master guru of all the communications and all the little video strategies that you may see. In fact, I'm going to play another one for you guys so you can check this out. This one, I love this one. That's right. The gears are churning. We're getting ready to get rolling. We're going to move this thing along. Today is one of the favorite shows I can tell you because I love the topic. And more importantly, I love my guest panelist who are coming in, is coming to share with me today. She is a dynamo, former attorney, former star, world star, and all things. I'm telling you right now, she's a world traveler. She's well known. She's awesome. She's coming from New York City, and I love my New Yorkers. I have to tell you, I'm partial to New Yorkers because I spent some time in the Big Apple, and they cut my teeth professionally right there, learning how to be a financial advisor myself. She's also an extremely talented financial professional. She loves working with women. She loves working with entrepreneurs. She loves working with people who want to take control of their lives and get control back into their lives and provide more financial resources for themselves. And she's a person that definitely you want to listen to, and definitely I'm so glad to introduce her to you today. She's a supercharger. Welcome to the stage, Miss Claudette Corbin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Coach Powell. Oh my gosh, I was like, who's that person? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, that's me. Hi. How is everybody doing today? I'm so grateful to be included in this in Coach Powell's segment. And I love the topic he's talking about, win-win. As he was speaking about it, it reminded me of this African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go together. I want you to think about that a little bit. We think about being that lone wolf and knowing, forging our own way kind of thing. But and yeah, you get to go fast. You'll get to go real fast, but it's a very lonely existence and it's just you. But let's look at those things that tend to work together, like geese when they fly south and they fly in formation. There's a particular reason for that formation, and there's a particular reason for them going together, because they're going together, they go further, they go farther, longer, and thereby getting across the distance that they need to get through faster. And also, because they're working together, they support each other. So if one gets tired, they either all come down and rest, or they fly in such a way that it holds them up. When I learned all this, I thought I was so fascinated about it. So I love what he had to talk about, the topic of win-win, because it really is how can you collaborate so that you can make a bigger impact on whatever your mission is. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My mission is to create a world where finance works for everyone, because I firmly believe that everyone deserves to be financially secure. That when they understand how their money works, you understand like why you do this, why that does, as it pertains to you and your situation and your circumstances. That is when you are empowered to make the decisions that work best for you and your family. That brings you peace of mind. Because when your money is right, your world is right, your home life is right, your business life is right. I want you to think about it. How many arguments, how many fights, how many destroyed relationships are all based on money? How many businesses with great ideas, great inventions, or entrepreneurs, they fall because they lack money? So we spend time planning out our vacation, what we're going to wear to an event, how we're going to like shave a couple seconds off of our performance in a sport that we are really into. But we don't spend any time really trying to plan out how to make our money work for us. So that's my mission, is to help people be a financial coach, is first understand your goals, your challenges. Now let's put together a plan that's going to help you in your circumstances, in your area, get to that next level and plot how to get down the field to where you want to go. So that's me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so very much, Claudette, and thank you for reminding me about that African proverb. I read that a couple of years back, and it stuck with me too. I mean, it was just such a beautiful sentiment to understand how important it is to work together. We're going to share a lot about that later on, and I'm sure we'll hear more from Claudette in a few minutes. But right now, I want to break it down for you guys so you understand what we're talking about. If you can, like I said earlier, definitely go into the chat box, pull up the document that I shared with you, page 13, and we're going to preview some ideas and some thoughts really quickly, and then we're going to get into the discussion big time. Claudette, if you have any thoughts or ideas, go ahead and put them in the chat as well, and I will definitely make sure that we feature them and bring you on stage and help you expand, and you can expand upon your ideas. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is a quote that I stole from Benjamin Franklin. And this is an important quote. Mr. Franklin said, "All who think cannot but see that there is a sanction like that of religion which binds us in partnership in the serious work of the world." What he was saying quite clearly is, as individuals, all of us are linked together. And whenever we need to do something serious, we're going to be better if we learn how to work together. So let's talk about what that work is and what that entails. You can't learn to work together alone. You have to start working together. And we do that in small ways in our professional relationships. Your professional relationships, from your first job to your first mentor to your first group where you are having to run an acquisition team, or anything that's going to be requiring other people to begin to work collectively and to begin to share resources and to respect one another, teaches you how to build those opportunities. There's a problem though with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs typically forget a lot of that because they spend so much time alone in the trenches with their idea, trying to work it out. And that really does them a lot of harm. One of the things that hurts them most is they think their ideas are great ideas and they don't really have a good board of advisors or a good group of people who are going to tell them the truth and go, well, you shouldn't do that. If they do, they have probably weeded those people out of their lives already. People who were they would consider negative or naysayers, they've already dropped those people. So there's now nobody around to help them stay aligned to their focus, to their mission, to the things that they need to do to move themselves, their business forward. They don't understand what value proposition is because they don't have anybody to tell them that their ideas are not really that valuable. And I don't know how many of you have seen that happen before, but I've seen it happen quite a bit where I have entrepreneurs that I'm working with, and they think that what they're doing is magical. They think that what they're saying is magical. It's the first time it's ever been said or done. Nobody's doing it except them. And one of the things I often share with people is there's nothing really new under the sun. We just come up with different ways to explain it, different ways to express it, and just even a term, for instance, one of the latest thought processes out there when it comes to processing information is a program called Six Sigma. For those of you who are IT related, you might know what Six Sigma is all about. But here's the deal: Six Sigma moved beyond, and it's a different form of project management. And project management is a different form of organizational development. And organizational development is a different form of what preceded that. All of it has to do with leadership management, strategy, and structure, and making sure that you're trying to do the best things for your organization at the right time in the right way. What we haven't done, and this is also very, very new, is this thought with diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is it about, and how does it work really? You know, is it about numbers? We have the right number of people on our team, the right number of people on our staff that reflect certain demographics or certain racial makeups or certain political strategies or ages. Is that diversity? What is equity? Is it giving ownership away to people or making them earn ownership? Is it an entitlement? What is it? Are we going to separate people out and go, okay, you get to have value, but other people don't get to have value? Is that what equity is about? Making sure that everybody has the same value or that people deserve. How do you define it? Inclusion. What is it about? Do we want people at the table to actually speak and share their own ideas and thoughts and perspectives? Is that going to matter? But here's what we found out. Here's the truth. There is no creativity. There is no innovation that could come until diversity comes, until new perspectives come, until new ideas come. You don't get to do wonderful, new, creative, innovative things. And that's why win win is so important. You can't afford to move beyond the people that you've selected to move with you, because when you do that, you leave them behind. And when you leave them behind, they're not going to give you their best ideas. They're not going to give you their attention. They're not going to participate with you whenever it is you're trying to do. They're going to feel like, okay, whatever you're bringing to the table now is too much, too little, too late. You should have paid attention to me when I said this. You should have listened to me when I was doing this. You should have actually been and gotten involved and suggested some things at this point of back in the future. But now it's too late, because now it's very difficult to build the trust. And I'm going to have to forgive you before we build the trust. I don't want to get to that point with people. I don't want to get to that point with anybody where I have to get forgiveness before we can build the trust, because trust is hard enough to build. I'd rather start from the beginning with a statement to something like this. And this is what I'm going to suggest that you do. I understand that you have talents and gifts that I may not have. I need you to do everything you can to tell me what those gifts and those talents are. And I will do the best I can to tell you what my gifts and talents are, so that we can work together and find out why we are supposed to be in the same space at the same time anyway. Why are we here? I'm also going to share with you where I believe I have weaknesses, where I believe I need to work on some things. And if you have some things that you might want to help me with in that regard, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. If we have those simple kinds of conversations with people before we think about a transaction, right? Before we think about how we're going to, you know, sell that, get that deal closed, or sell that product one more time, or whatever it is that we're trying to influence, right? Then we're going to figure out how to create win-win relationships. But here's what it requires. It requires honesty. It requires integrity. It requires self-trust, right? You have to be vulnerable, and be willing to be authentically vulnerable, so someone can see you are a human being, not just a person who's looking to get ahead or looking to accomplish something, but you're a person, you're a human being. And that's what we can meet each other on the win-win plane. That's what we can meet each other on the battlefield, so to speak, of collaboration, right? If we don't do that, then I think we're going to fall victim to the old way of thinking, which suggests that it's my way or the highway, or I have to win at all costs, or I don't know how many of you have heard this, but I know I heard this growing up. Because you have to work 150% or 200% better than the guy sitting next to you, because you won't get the same opportunities. Well, what happens to the guy sitting next to me? Oh, don't worry about him. That's the advice I was getting from my elders. And don't worry about the guy next to you. You get yours, and then you worry about that person. Well, I kind of think that thinking has got us in the place we are right now, where we don't consider each other as human beings. We don't learn to work together. We haven't ever learned to collaborate, and now we're having to figure it out, sort of on the back end, when there are a lot of bodies left in the field, right, that we should have taken care of, that we didn't. We got to go back and apologize, and try to find some forgiveness for the tutors that we ignored, and the teachers that we didn't pay attention to, and the bosses and supervisors who we thought we were smarter than, and all this kind of stuff. Don't live your life like that. Don't try to go backwards. Got to move forward. And if you do the right things with people right away, right up front, then you'll never have to ask for forgiveness. This is what win-win is all about. It's a time saver. It's a value saver, and it will save your credibility if you truly get it. One of the things I discovered as I was doing the research for this is a couple of exercises that I guess I literally have to share with you guys. Before you can admit to someone else that you may have some weaknesses, or you may have some challenges, so to speak, then you have to know what they are, which means you have to do the work. I'm going to suggest that you Start thinking about the people that you're working with, the people that you need to get closer to, the people that you, and then start asking them, literally giving them permission to give you this kind of feedback, and let them know that there will be zero consequences for them saying so. But let them know, if you noticed anything that I need to work on, anything that I'm doing that I could be better at, and I really want your honest feedback and I want your honest opinion, because if I can fix these problems, then I probably won't experience some of the things that I don't want to experience, the negative things that are happening to me. And people who are truly your friends, people who are truly interested in helping you be the best version of yourself, people who are interested in win-win with you, they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you, oh, you know what? You don't listen very well. And, I find that every time I talk to you, I'm just talking to, you're just talking at people and you're not really paying attention to what they're saying or who they are. And that really hurts my feelings, or I can see that it damages other people. I get you, I understand you, but I can see other people might be a little scared to talk to you. You know, Depending on your personality, these things are really happening. Some people are they don't say anything at all, and so they're basically a mystery in their friendships, in their relationships, in their professional relationships. They sit, they wait in the meeting, they take notes and they nod their head, and you never hear from them. You don't know whether they really agree. You don't know whether they're really in. You don't know if they're really committed, and so it's hard. So people who are driven to a solution may overthink and over talk and over strategize, because no one's saying, "Hey, time out. I'm in. Stop selling it. Stop trying to influence me. Stop trying to move me forward. I'm in." Now, if you keep going, you're probably going to make me upset, and I'm probably going to have to bounce, because you're wasting my time now. I've already made a decision. You're about to make me unmake the decision because you're talking too much. So these are all the things that people find themselves like. Why can't I get people to agree with me? Why can't I get people to work with me, cooperate with me, collaborate with me? And a lot of little idiosyncrasies happen because we don't take the time to do that analysis of ourselves, be honest about who we are in everything that we do, and try to make sure we identify with the mission. This is what Claudette was talking about earlier. Identify with the purpose, something that we believe in that's stronger than us, but it has to include people. Because if we don't include people, we're not paying attention to the reality that we can't do anything amazing by ourselves. Anything we're going to do that's absolutely amazing, I promise you, someone else has had their hand in it. Even if it's the person that wrote the book that you read, that woke you up to the new realities, that person had a hand in it. Whether they know it or not, they had a hand in it. Always brainstorm vision and mission with the people that you work with. Always. If they don't know what you're up to, where you're going, where you want to go, and why, and you don't know what they're up to, what they're going, what they're doing, and where they want to go and why, you're missing a golden opportunity to have that magic communication. It's all going to take communication. More important than anything else, review the progress that you're making with each other on a regular, consistent basis. If you don't review where you were and you can't see the progress that you're making at some point in your relationship, no matter what it is, you're going to find that you have drifted apart. You're going to find that one is leading the other or one is behind, and it's going to be a distance that may not be able to be made up. And you want to stop that from happening by committing to a regular weekly or bi-weekly meeting, even if it's 15 minutes, you know, just a check-in meeting, see how you're doing, what can I do to help you, what's going on, make an agreement, make a promise, make a commitment, and move on. But when you do these things, you stay at the top of each other's minds. You stay at the top of the opportunity to help each other with some level of accountability. You don't even have to be in the same business or the same area or the same company. Just agree that you care about each other enough to want to help. And it doesn't have to be the same. I tell people all the time, like, I have people who helping me who are leaps and clouds sort of above me when it comes to talent, skills, and abilities. And I have people helping me who are younger and newer. And I benefit from both. And guess what? I find ways to help them too. Because I don't want to end a relationship where I'm getting all the benefit and no one else is getting the benefit. That's not a win-win relationship. That's a win-lose relationship. So I hope you guys are getting a lot out of the discussion today. There's so much more I want to talk to you, but I want to bring my girl Claudette in. She's chomping at the bit, and I know she's got a lot of feedback, a lot of things to add to the conversation. Claudette, what do you think about what we're talking about when it comes to win-win so far? You're on mute.
I got it. I have my little sign too. Oh my gosh. There was just so many pearls of wisdom, like so much gold that was dropping. I was like, oh my God, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get the recording of this just for my own benefit.
You'll have it.
First of all, exactly what you said is so true. There's nothing new under the sun. We are just human version 2021. That's it. And we still, regardless of from the time Adam and Eve walked this earth until the time, Adam and Eve ceased to work this earth, we all want the same things. We all want to have family. We all want to be loved. We want to be cared for. We want to feel that we're contributing. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And you're absolutely right. When we kind of bought into this belief that it's all about just me and no one else. And if you look at the times when we've been the most turbulent, is when it became all about you. There's something like within my area when we're training on the concept of being tax advantaged. We have this one particular slide that we always train on. And I love looking at this slide because it really shows me the history of this country, especially in the 1900s. And so if you look at this, if you were born in 1900, by the time you were 13 years old, that's when income taxes first came into being. Marvin's going to start to laugh because he knows this. So there was no such thing as income tax before 1913. P.S. They were going to codify it at 1%, but they're like, no one's ever going to put it over in 1%. Imagine their surprise. Like how many years later, 20-something, 30-something years later, it was at 94%. By the time you were 16, you were going into the first global pandemic, the Spanish flu. Oh, I missed something. By the time you were 14, you went into the First World War. Then 18 was the first pandemic. Then you came out of it into the 20s, the roaring 20s, where everything went. You could spit and make money. Hit to 30 years old, and we were in the Great Depression, where you lost everything. Fast forward to your 40s, you were going into your Second World War, where now the world completely changed. Women were coming out of the homes. They were the manufacturers. They were changing it. Fast forward, you're now 50 years old. You're too old to go to war, but your son, he's now going to the war in the Korean War. Fast forward to your 60s, and your grandkids are now old enough to go to war at the start of the Vietnam War and the beginning of the civil rights marches into the 70s, and we've got a decade of stagnant economy. If you made it to your 80s in 1980, you'd been through 5 wars, 2 economic downturns, a global pandemic, and a civil rights march. So if you ever wondered if you're blessed to have family from that time, you're like, why are they so chill? It's because they couldn't focus on what was going on. All they could focus on was what could they do to make it better for the future generations. And they also knew this as well. It was what could they do together. We wouldn't have survived as a country. We at any level, whichever form you come in, we wouldn't have survived had we not been in it together.
Yep.
When we started to think just about ourselves, that's when things have truly gone to pot. Because it was like, it's not about we. And if you look at where we are today, the conversation on one hand is, this is what we need to do together to move us out of the state that we're in because of our second global pandemic. And what's basically the response? Oh no, I don't want to do that. It's not for me. I. And I look like this is not permanent. We survive, we thrive.
Right.
When we are together. And also, I love what you said. Many years ago, I read the book by Patrick Lencioni, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And the base foundation of a truly functional team where you truly get the kind of, innovation of idea, the innovation to move forward is trust. And
Bingo.
being able to come and really bring yourself to the table and come together. I read that book and it actually changed the way I thought about how I dealt with my team when I was in that position and how I deal with my team as I build it. I because it's not about me. Yeah, I have ideas, but I'm not the only person in the room with ideas. I want to hear what you have to say. Yes, my goal is to lay out my process because that's not going to change. This is the process. This is the system that moves us from point A to point B. But in that system, there's a lot of processes that can change.
Right.
You tell me. Like, what do you think of this? Can you better this? Can you modify it? I'm there for you. I remember the one day working, one of my team members came over to me and said, Claudette, we have an idea for something. And I said, okay, tell me about it. And they started telling me, I said, listen, I'm going to ask you questions, not because I'm disagreeing with you, but because I want to make sure that we're on the same page and what needs to get done. I said, okay. And so they said, yeah. And they started asking me, and I asked them this question. And then I asked them the next question. I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Go ahead. And they're like, what? I said, go ahead and do it. And if you need my help with anything, just let me know. I'm here. But I think that's a wonderful idea. Go. And they said, are you serious? I said, absolutely. Bye. And I left. And I'm like, you go
You know
do
what
it.
I found out, Claudette? This is a trip because you just demonstrated the perfect coaching situation, right? Coaches don't give answers; they ask questions.
Yeah.
They ask questions so that you will arrive at the answer, and you arrive at the answer, and then they get to be now your cheerleader and supporter.
Yeah.
That's that's
Achilles.
the best. That's the best thing about coaches. But tell me this: don't you find people sometimes, even when you give them the ability, the authority, the responsibility to do what they say they already know is the best thing to do, that they still sometimes can't manage to just make it happen?
Yes. And I've learned that comes from a state of, can I really believe that you're giving me this, or you kind of telling me? They're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That's right.
They hear
That's right.
you telling them, go, do it. And you're like, okay, okay. And they're looking at you like, I'm sorry, are you the person that, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Go ahead.
So what
And
happened? Go ahead.
go ahead. So it's, have you created an atmosphere where they can truly believe that you are handing this over?
Right.
And that's through the communication. Have you communicated to them effectively so they can trust in your word that you've handed it over?
Right.
And if there comes a moment because of whatever circumstances, you may need to step in. You're able to communicate. You guys are doing fine, but right now this is about to go wrong really badly, not because of anything you've done. I'm
Right.
going to be here to help us get through it, but I'm absolutely confident in your abilities to get through it.
I meet leaders all the time who forget that they have to tell their people, I trust you.
Interesting.
I believe in you. I know that you can do this. And sometimes you have to remind people that they can do it, whatever it is that they're doing. And that you actually, when you say you will support them, you actually will support them. And this is how you will support them. Because again, if we don't communicate these things, and you said it right out, that you said it completely correctly. When we don't communicate effectively, we leave a lot to people's assumptions. Now, even when we communicate effectively, people still have their own fears, their own self doubts, their own guilt over something that they would have, should have, could have done some other point in time, maybe even another place, that they're just the baggage that they're bringing along, right? So I find myself often having to give people the permission to drop that baggage. Just let it all go.
And you know how you do that? You tell them it's okay to suck. Trust me,
Yeah.
because I've sucked, and
Right.
I'm still here.
Right.
It's okay to make a mistake. We'll learn from it. It's okay to say, okay, that did work. Okay, let's move to version 8. That was, what was that, version A? Okay, let's just move down to F, because I don't think A, B, and C are going to work. It's how, if you give someone something over to somebody and then you base them for every minor little thing that didn't go wrong, don't be surprised if they like don't want to take action. If in your communication, and you see how I'm getting really hot at it, because this to me has always been the difference between a great leader and one who's like, you're not, is you made mistakes and you learn from them.
Right.
Let them make mistakes. And I say, what if I make mistakes? I said, unless somebody's lying on the floor bleeding, whatever, it's fine. You can fix it.
Right.
If they're bleeding, okay, we'll fix that too. But it just has to be, okay, did anybody die? No. Did anybody bleed? Was anybody bloody? No. All right, so what happened? Okay, and then you work through that with them so they're like, you mean you're not going to scream at me? No. You're not going to be mad? No. What happened?
You
And
bringing
you're
out
like,
an excellent point that I found in the research. Literally, we have been conditioned, so many people have been conditioned that any failure is like life and death. And they look at it like that, and it's not like that. In fact, 80% of the things that we are afraid of, there is no rational basis for that fear. But we are fearful anyway. And
mhm,
it can be frustrating. I understand a lot of leaders out there. I talk to a lot of leaders. I work with a lot of leaders. And a lot of leaders listen to the show. It can be difficult to try to get your people past their own fears. But that is the call, I think, of leadership.
yeah,
I think leaders are called to remind people that they're gifted, to remind people that they're talented, to remind people that they're brilliant in whatever area that they're talented or brilliant or gifted in. We all are at some area. And then the leader's job is to say to that person, I see you. I see the greatness in you. I see
mhm,
the beauty in you. I see the talent in you. What can we do together to blow that up, to make sure that the rest of the world sees what I see in you?
yeah,
That is a person, when they're convinced that you believe in them,
mhm.
they will go the distance for you.
That's so
They will
true.
give you the benefit of the doubt. They will fight. If somebody says something bad about you, they'll be like, listen, don't say anything bad about Claudette. I know Claudette. I've been working with Claudette. She has been all right with me, and you don't know her. That's your problem. You should get to know her before you blah, 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 blah. I know that's happened to me on several occasions. You smiling because it's happened to you too, right?
It, it happened to me. I had a situation where as I was interviewing and someone was bringing the person down to the interview and they're like, oh, you're going to be in Miss Claudette's team. Let me tell you something about Miss Claudette. She don't play. I was cracking up at this point. And she's like, she's fair, she's tough, but she don't play. So if you want to come on her team and you want to play, she is not the person to be on it because she don't play. But she will work with you. She will care for you. That's the person. I had people wanting to come on my team. I'm like, why? You know, I'm not going to let you get away with anything. I know, but you're straightforward and you're honest with me. And that's what I wanted. And this is the thing I want to add for leaders is that we're not perfect either. Dare to suck. You're going to have bad days. You have to be able to say, so I'm having a really bad day. I think I need to go stay in my room. If you really need me, call me, but I'm really not in a good place. If you come across this attitude of I'm perfect and I never, put a foot wrong and I think that's a very hard standard to meet. And they're going to respond to it. But if you say, well, yeah, today's not a good day. Can you guys hold it down for me? Come get me if it gets bad, but can I please? your team that really respects and honors you will tell you, you go do what you need to go away. We'll come get you if we need you. And turns out they are making sure things are getting done because you've been there for them. Now they're going to be there for you. Leadership is not me pointing and saying point and fetch, or me like whipping you. It's taking your people with you to the goal that you want to go to.
Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
that's definitely it. When I read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People
Mhm.
many years ago, and then I got lucky when I was at Prudential to be sent to be trained by Dr. Stephen Covey himself, and then it was one of those train the trainers programs where they expect you to come back to the company and teach everybody else, what it's all about. And one of the things that blew me away really off the bat from trying to take it from a level where I may have read this in college, but now I'm experiencing this as a professional, was when he started sharing with us how important win-win was, how important it was to understand that leaders lead people, managers and supervisors lead systems and processes,
Mm.
but people have hearts and minds and spirits, and you can't work with people and not work with those things. You
Exactly.
right? If you're working with people, you are working with a complex individual. You're working with a complex person who gets is influenced by so much, and your opportunity to intercede and to be by their side and to work with them, to look through their eyes, look through their lens, have some empathy for who they are as a person, so that you can help them accomplish the mission, the goal, the organization, and all that kind of stuff. All that's important. But at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
if the organization fails for a quarter, but you get to keep all your people and they're all firing at all cylinders, ready to go for the next quarter, is that better than winning for the quarter and having to replace all your people because you burned them out?
Exactly. Because how far can you go if you keep having to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild? I've gotten to many arguments where I basically hold the line. Listen, you're not doing that to my people. You're just not. And where I argue the point of everybody wants the same thing, but everybody's not at the same place. As a leader, you have to be able to deal with them where they are, not where you expect them to be. I learned something from the founder of our company, and he shared this, and it really changed my mindset. And he talked about how he was challenged. Well, he was challenged by one of his senior partners who said, "I want you to accomplish this goal by this time." And he was like, what? Now, the guy, he really understood who he's dealing with. So he knew he could fire him up with some competition. And so that's what he did. And all the way home, back to home, he was trying to figure out how he was going to reach this goal. And he understood that if he came back and just said, listen, guys, I want this thing and I'm going to get this thing and I need this thing, they looked at him as like, good for you. Have a nice life. He said, if it was all about me, no one would care. So he came back instead and said, what is it that he went to the person that was lowest on the totem pole to the person the highest and went to each and every one of them. What is it that you want? And they told him, said, I will help you get that. And they were like, wait, you are going to personally help me. No, you mean you're going to send that one? He says, no, I'm going to personally help you reach that goal. I was like, yes. Because he did that, not only did, and because he helped each person reach their goal, he got exactly what he wanted in a shorter amount of time.
That's right.
And he learned by simply focusing on them. Not only did they get the goal, but he learned from them, and they absolutely learned from him, and they became so They became his biggest fan.
Right.
Listen, there was nothing you couldn't ask me that I would not do for you.
That's what I'm hoping our listening audiences get from what we're talking about today. If you just establish yourself that you will not do anything of any significance without thinking win-win, you're going to go far. Because what's going to happen is it's win-win that goes the distance. Win-lose might get you a quarter. It may get you 2 quarters of success, but win-win is going to get you long-term success.
Exactly.
It's going to get you ongoing and continuing success. And
Yes.
and if you haven't, I would tell people, we'll listen to this. Take the time, read the document that I shared with you. Um, Go through the exercises, work through them for yourself. Do your own SWOT analysis. For those who don't know, SWOT is an acronym, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Well, that's what that meant.
Yeah, run through those things so that and think about them. Ask yourself the question, and then turn around and go take the people that are closest to you. I mean, people that you believe and trust in, right? And ask them, listen, did I get this right? Are these my strengths? Are these my weaknesses? Are these the obstacles that I face? Are these the threats that I have to deal with? Now, the first two, strengths and weaknesses, are internal, right? The second two things, the obstacles and threats, those are external. And the more you know about all that information, the more you share, the more you can communicate. This is important because a lot of leaders, even if they do this work for themselves and their organizations, they don't share the information. Sharing the information is like sharing the truth. It's like saying, this is where I am. Good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all out there for you to see. All transparent,
Mm.
all on the table, nothing to be left. And if you have a question, there's always an answer. Guess what? When you're telling the truth, there's always an answer.
That's true.
When you're lying, then you got to think about it and you got to come back to it. You got nobody ever asked me that question. Well, you should be trying to ask questions that nobody's ever asked you because if you don't
That's
know,
true.
you should have said it up front. I don't know nothing about blah 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 because then somebody can't come back to you and ask you a question about that because you already said. I told you I don't know anything about that. What I know about is this. Ask me any question about that, and I'll knock it out of the park for you, guaranteed. But if you ask me some questions about some stuff that I don't have a clue about, that I've already told you that I don't know, it's not my area of specialty. It's not. In fact, it might even be a weakness. Then what are they going to do? Blame you for what? Accuse you of what? Be scared of what?
Yeah.
It's over. You have laid it out. You have spoken all the truth there is to speak, and there is nothing left except now. This my mother told me this, and I'll never forget it. I love her. I love her dearly. God rest her soul. She said, once the truth has been spoken, all you have to do now is accept it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I teach my clients this all the time. I say, listen, once you've spoken the truth, now you need to ask yourself, and you have to need to ask others, can you accept it? Can you
Yeah.
face it and accept it? Because if you can't, there are people out there who are conservative, in their political thinking, but they're hiding. They don't want to tell you. Listen, um, I don't believe in the government at all. There's nothing that the government will ever do that I will believe. So anytime you talk to me about anything a government program, I'm going to tell you I'm just not hearing it. I'm not that's not in my brain. I can't do it. But they don't tell you that. They say, well, I don't know if this program is going to be effective. Let's analyze it some more. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's look at it again. I don't know if this is going to
Hmm.
they put filibuster and idea wasters and time wasters so that the thing will run out of steam instead of saying, you know what, no matter how much information I get, no matter how much information it comes from, I'm never going to believe it because it means the government's going to do it. And I don't believe in the government, period.
That's a very good point, and it just kind of changed the perspective when I see people, I'm like, and I'm arguing something like, well, I don't know. I'm like, don't know what, and they're like, you just don't believe, and they don't have the ability to say, this is what I do believe.
Exactly.
That's a very good point, and um, that's kind of something that I've learned. I love what you were talking about doing the work. um, I really participated in a thing called the Landmark Forum. And what it was able to do for me is it made me really confront my own stories that I had been living through. But I recently had it whereas we had a pastor come and he was talking about forgiveness. And truly, the Greek word for forgiveness is aphemi, meaning to let go. And when he said that, I said that made more sense because then it really ties into cast all your cares. I don't care if you're Buddhist, you're Muslim, just listen. Cast all your cares upon me because I care for you. That's what God says. And so he made the point is like, he said, God says to you, I gave you my son, I sacrificed him for you. There's nothing you can't forgive. And you're sitting there going, but how can I forgive or let it go if I can't forget? It's not that you can't forgive because you can't forget, it's because you haven't actually closed it so that you can let it go. And
That's acceptance.
that's the point. And this is how, and I finally came to that understanding when I found myself there was something like me and a partner, and I've known him for so many years, love him dearly, truly I do. But there was something that he had said to me, and it really hit me. It really hurt my feelings. It's like this. We got to be able to admit that something hurts our feelings. It hurt my feelings. And I finally, after doing the forum and then talking to other people, they said, when are you going to complete this? And I said, tomorrow. So I finally called him and I told him, this is what you said. This is how it made me feel. And because of that, this is what it's making me do. And he's like, I'm sorry. And we resolved it. Now, did we get complete closure? No, because it takes more. But what it did is it helped me to let it go because I finally let him know how it made me feel. And now the possibilities for where we now go forward are open wide. We fail to it's not just your leader has to communicate, you have to be able to communicate because nobody's perfect. So that you can get that closure. You understand? If the person you're working with is never going to hear you, I said, then you're not in the right place. Leave.
Right.
But if you don't do that, how do you open up that dialogue on either side so that you can open up those possibilities
You have
to
to.
be able to move forward?
You have to. One of the things I teach all the time is how do you got to put your own ego to the side because the relationship has to be more important than the individual. When the relationship is not more important than the individual, then the relationship dies, and so do the individuals in the relationship. And so, because you now can't benefit from your strengths, right? You lose that opportunity because you lost a trust in the relationship. There's a partner of mine that I truly love dearly. He's a good friend of mine and a business partner of mine. One day we had a situation where I had said or done something that totally got him sideways. He just wasn't feeling what I was doing, and he came at me, with a level of disrespect that I just generally do not tolerate. Right? His feelings were hurt, so he lashed out at me and hurt my feelings.
Mm,
So what do they say? Hurt people, right?
yep.
So I had to ask myself the question because generally what would happen in a situation is I would quickly recover my sanity and make a very intelligent decision, like reminding him of who we are together and what we mean together, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. And maybe we shouldn't let a moment upset the balance of our mission that we've decided together because we were very consistent about that. until that moment. And I had to have him. I had a cooling off period with him for about 2 weeks, and he was calling me and I wasn't responding. And he was texting me and I wasn't responding. He was asking me questions and I wasn't responding. And I was like, dude, nobody talks to me like that.
Mm.
Nobody disrespects me. And until you get to a point where you understand that, we're done.
Yeah, nothing to say.
That's where I was. And he started going, but. I was like, no, there's no but to this. I love myself too much to let anybody trample on me.
Mm.
I would not be able to live with myself if I tolerated that from anyone who I would call a partner. Not going to work.
Mm.
So until we can understand that no matter what I did, and I will own up to everything I've done, you must recognize that if you ever come at me like that again, we're finished.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it. I can't tolerate that. And let me apologize for my behavior, what I said or what I did. Um, it was not intentional. It was not something that I meant to go sideways or something that I meant to take you there. I recognize that loyalty means a lot to you, and it means a lot to me, but not as much as it means to you because I haven't been damaged. Really, truly, I know a story. Like I haven't been beat up and left alone, and he's gone through some trauma in his life. Like, okay, I don't have that. I trust people. Really, I do trust. You
Mm.
know, I don't have any reason not to trust people. And so I'm gonna recognize that you got a couple reasons to not trust people, and I get it. I'm loyal. I'll be there for you, 100%. You never have to worry about me. But you can't ever come and be like that. And
Yeah.
our relationship took off in a whole new different direction, and it worked out just fine. But you have those moments where you gotta let your ego go.
And communicate. It just is
I
just
was done.
that.
I decided I wasn't talking to him anymore. We were finished. But common sense prevailed, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not gonna let go of the years and the struggles and the things that we've already invested in one another and the future that we have with the programs that we're running together to let this one moment, you
Derail it
know,
all.
derail it all. Like, no, I'm a bigger person, and I could put my ego in check. I just have to get this one little point straightened out, and then I'll be back to where I need to be, right? But think about that, and for the listening audience, I hope you think about it as well. It's very important that you know where to go with your emotions and how to control those in a place where you don't derail the relationships because you feel a certain way momentarily, because most of those feelings are internal. That you have control over them. You can decide for yourself. I'm not going to allow these feelings, these emotions to determine my fate or the fate of this relationship,
Yes.
because this relationship is that important. Um, it's often been said that people try to go relationships are 50-50, and it's never been my experience that relationships are 50-50. They're always 80-20.
And that,
Somebody's getting more out of the relationship than somebody else at any given time. Now,
yeah.
the problem is when that doesn't shift, when it's 80-20 in the wrong direction all the time, in the same direction all the time. You know, you and I are doing something together and you're winning 80% of the time, I'm winning 20% of the time. At some point, I'm going to feel trampled on. At some point, I'm going to feel like maybe I'm not being respected here. Am I being a doormat? Am I getting walked over by this hella strong, tall New Yorker? Is this what's going on? And I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna have to reevaluate this situation.
Yeah.
So it has to go back and forth. That's why win-win is important. If you enter a relationship and you go, okay, here's where I need to win, and here's where you need to win, I can see us supporting each other so that we both can get there. Then we can do it. You understand what I'm saying? But You're thinking transaction, transaction, transaction. I'm thinking transaction, transaction, transaction. There's no room for the relationship to grow.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And it's because of that. And I've had many a time where you know, let me say it this way. So when I spoke with my friend, he said to me, "Why didn't you say something before?" And my response to him was, because I had taught myself to never respond in anger, because I cannot come back. Like some people can be angry and say, "Let me explain." And I'll be like, "I come back at you. I'm trying to take your head off. If
Right.
I'm angry, I'm taking your head off." And I had to teach myself, whatever it is, hold it in, wait a day or two. If you're still angry, deal with it. If you're not angry, it didn't matter. And it still mattered because I held on to it for a number of times. But I didn't deal with it for have a bunch of other reasons. So I absolutely understand. It's like, yeah, we are a work in progress, and that progress is going to go until we take our last breath.
Have you heard of cooling breaths? Do you know what cooling breaths are?
You mean the,
Similar. Similar. If you purse your lips like you're about to give somebody a kiss, like that, and you breathe in, you're breathing in cool air,
ooh,
not too hard. Just breathe in softly. You're breathing in cool air. And what that's doing is it's hitting the back of your brain where you're hot headed, right? It's hitting that back of that brain and cooling off your system a little bit and giving you a moment where you can start to recover emotionally from something that might be really, really tense. And so most of us are stressed out all day, every day. Something happens, somebody sends us an email, somebody it was we were on some video chat with somebody and then something went sideways. And sometimes we just need to take a cooling breath. I learned this technique from some coach that I was listening to on a podcast or something a couple weeks ago. And it really, really works. All you got to do is go
yeah,
real slow for about 10 seconds and let that sit in your head and then breathe out slow through your nose. And the stress will just melt away. It's kind
okay,
of crazy. And I usually don't go for this woo woo stuff. That's not me. I'm a good Christian. I believe you can pray anything out usually. But you know what? A lot of these techniques that you learn from Buddhist wisdom and stuff, that stuff really works. And
it does.
I
They've
can't.
been around a long time too.
Hello.
They've been around a long, long time too. And it's like, as there's a part says, "Lord, what about them? Don't worry about them. They're mine too. Let's just focus on you."
Yes.
It's
Yes.
all this.
I love it. I love it. So, is there anything you want people to share? You want to share with anybody about how to get in contact with you or anything like that? I don't. You didn't put anything in the chat there, but so I want to make sure that if there's something that you want people to know about, you got coming up, any information or anything.
Well, I really look forward to people being able to reach out to me and talk. I love the fact that one of the people says, "How did you change from being an attorney to to this?" I said, "Well, I love being able to help people with their financial with their legal matters. But what I didn't like was that I always had to put the meter on, and I love within what I'm doing now that I'm able to talk to them
Right.
and then come to some, then we move forward."
Right.
So if you have questions for me, I just put one of my email in chat, educatewithmore@gmail. That's a way of contacting me. And I also put in my LinkedIn. I'm the only Claudette Forbin on LinkedIn. If you use LinkedIn, there's no other Claudette Forbin on LinkedIn. I was surprised how many Claudettes there were, but I'm the only one. I'm easy to find. Reach out to me. Let's say, mention that, "Oh, I heard you on Coach Powell's talk, and I would love to and I would love to, kind of talk to you some more." Absolutely. Let's get together.
I love you, love you, love you, Claudette. I knew this was going to be a fantastic show. You and I spoke on the phone about a month ago, and it was such a fun conversation. Like, oh, I got to have her on the show. This is going to be amazing, and it was, and it is. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm going to let you go backstage for a little bit as I close the show out. Hopefully, you stick around. We have a few minutes to talk. No, you have to go.
I
Get
did.
out of here. Why are you still here?
Because we were talking. I couldn't leave in the middle. My mother raised me better.
I
But I
am
really gotta
so
go.
sorry. I am so sorry. You got to go. I will see you. Thank guys. I hope you guys loved it. Claudette, you'll go be able to get in contact with her later on. Claudette, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, boys and girls, this has been, like I said, an amazing show. I'm so glad that Claudette had a chance to spend some time with us. I'm going to close it out. I got some things I want to share with you really quickly. If you look in the chat, there's a conference that I've got coming up called the True Voice Conference. It is going to be a fantastic opportunity for anybody who wants to get involved, learn more about small businesses, run your small business better. This is all about your voice. How do you communicate effectively? How do you share your voice in the right way with the right people at the right time so you can start getting tremendous results? This is a full day conference. It's all day Saturday. If those of you out there who's thinking about sponsoring or you want to become on as one of our partners, definitely hit me up. Let me know. Send me a text message. Send me an email. Whatever you need to do to communicate with me, I promise I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can because we're looking for engagement. We're looking for true leaders who are willing to step up and really, really share some opportunities for small businesses. I love you guys. This has been a great show, and I had a great time. We will see you next time at Coffee Tea, You and Me. This is Coach Bob. Oh, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to do all those wonderful things, social media stuff out there, and I will see you next week.